We're now on the former aide to the Trump campaign who today erupted on cable news saying he won't show up at a grand jury impaneled by special counsel Robert Mueller or hand over emails. His reason, basically because it would take too much of his time. Not exactly an ironclad excuse. Randi Kaye is here with an in-depth look at Sam Nunberg, a man most Americans probably have never heard of until now, and he's not exactly on President Trump's speed dial right now.
Sam Nunberg seems to be one of Donald Trump's favorite targets. Trump has fired him twice and sued him for millions. In early 2014, after Nunberg convinced Trump to do an interview with BuzzFeed he'd promised would be a great story, Trump let him go. Trump told the New York Post Nunberg agreed Trump could fire him if the story turned out to be unflattering. BuzzFeed's article titled 36 Hours on the Fake Campaign Trail with Donald Trump was scathing. Nunberg was fired, only to be rehired as a communications advisor in February of 2015. But in August, Trump fired Nunberg again. By then, he had joined the campaign as an advisor. But a Business Insider story exposed Nunberg's racially charged comments on Facebook. The posts, which dated back to 2007, referred to Reverend Al Sharpton's daughter using the N-word. Nunberg told the media he didn't recall writing those posts, but did take responsibility for them. He reportedly apologized to Sharpton, but lost his job with the Trump campaign, which described him as a low-level staffer.
I am not a fan of Donald Trump. He treated me like crap, okay? I should not have been fired.
The 36-year-old Nunberg graduated from Toro Law Center on Long Island. While there, his LinkedIn page says he served as chair of students for Mitt in Romney's 2008 presidential campaign. His profile also says he worked for the conservative nonprofit American Center for Law and Justice. Nunberg's mentor early on was another controversial Trump advisor, Roger Stone. Nunberg had reportedly read a Weekly Standard profile of Stone, describing him as a Nixon-era trickster who blackmailed reporters and lied all the time. Stone had also described politics as performance art. Nunberg got himself a job with Stone's consulting firm. The two later co-wrote for Breitbart News, critical of Hillary Clinton. In the past, he's also slammed Barack Obama, calling the former president a socialist, Marxist, Islamo-fascist, Nazi appeaser in a Facebook post. Republicans aren't immune to his attacks either. He once described former New York City mayor and Republican presidential candidate Rudy Giuliani as a punk with a bad lisp. It seems he and Trump last tangled in the summer of 2016, when Trump sued Nunberg for $10 million. Trump accused his former aide of breaching a non-disclosure agreement by leaking false and defamatory information to the media. Nunberg denied leaking anything, instead suggesting Trump was suing in retaliation for Nunberg endorsing Senator Ted Cruz in the Republican primary. In the end, the lawsuit was reportedly settled amicably. Randi Kaye, CNN, New York.
Well, Sam Nunberg certainly made news today. I want to bring in our panel of the moment, James Schultz, Maria Cardona, Paris Denard, and Robbie Mook. Jim, do you believe that Nunberg has any reasonable grounds to defy a federal grand jury subpoena?
No, absolutely not. He has to comply with the grand jury subpoena, or he'll be pulled in by the marshals, taken before the judge, and compelled to testify or thrown in jail. I mean, he has to comply with both the document requests and the request to testify, if in fact he's been asked to testify. We don't even know what he's been asked to do and what documents he's been asked for. This is all his story. Seems to get himself in trouble with his words and is sometimes volatile.
Robbie, in terms of the things that Mr. Nunberg has said about, he believes Donald Trump knew about the Donald Trump Jr. meeting with the Russians looking for dirt on Hillary Clinton. He has no evidence of that, and he was not part of the campaign at the time. He had been fired long since. Do you put any credibility in some of the things he said, Robbie?
Well, we don't know. Where I think he matters a lot, and your introductory segment just talked about this, is that he's very close to Roger Stone. This is Roger Stone's mini-me. And we know that Stone was talking very frequently with Donald Trump. We also know that Stone was the one who was talking directly to WikiLeaks. That's been confirmed. He was talking directly to Guccifer II, who was the first blogger to release stolen emails. So I think he potentially has this link between Donald Trump and the Russians. I'm not saying it's there, but if Roger Stone was that bridge, I think he's the one who knows about it. And this is classic Roger Stone. Go out, you just said in your segment, performance art, make a show. Boy, did he make a show today. And so we're talking about his behavior and not the information he may have, again, about the bridge that Roger Stone played between these Russian operatives and Donald Trump.
Paris, are you concerned that Nunberg claimed that Special Counsel Mueller thinks President Trump was a Manchurian candidate?
I think I'm concerned about Nunberg's state of mind. I'm concerned about the fact that Aaron smelled alcohol in his breath and he's talking about he takes antidepressants. No, I think that I'm not concerned about his testimony because he has proven himself by his media junket today to be unstable, someone who has been fired multiple times, so he's not credible. He's making claims, like you said, Anderson, and he wasn't even part of the campaign. When I listen to what he's saying, I think that this may have more to do with the connection between Paul Manafort and Roger Stone rather than President Trump and Russian collusion.
How so?
Because of his strong defiance and intense loyalty to Roger Stone. We know he's no fan of the president. So if he was no fan of the president, he would be willing to go in and say anything and everything that could potentially be damning, connecting him to this alleged incident of Russian collusion. But he's not doing that. He's saying, Roger Stone is a mentor. Roger Stone is my friend. I'm not going to go testify, or I'm not going to go in front of this grand jury. I'll go to jail before I give up my friend Roger Stone. So to me, knowing that Roger Stone and Paul Manafort are past business partners, it shows the scope of, possibly the scope of where Mueller is going in this investigation, away from Donald Trump and back to Paul Manafort and possibly Roger Stone.
Maria, this talk of defying a subpoena is one thing, then going on national television multiple times, I should say, on multiple channels to argue about it is another. Where do you see this going from here?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. This was a complete political debacle today, and sadly a personal one for Sam Nunberg, but a political debacle for Trump and his team. The reason I say that is because, yes, they are going to try to defile his credibility, and Sam himself has not done himself any favors with his credibility in terms of his history and even in terms of what he did today. But let's remember, Mueller wants him to testify before the grand jury. That is not something that is unserious. And there's a reason why he wants to hear from Nunberg himself. And I do think that it has to do with the connection with Roger Stone. He himself said that he didn't want to spend hours and hours getting all of the emails for the special prosecutor because he had emailed 15 to 20 times a day with Roger Stone and with Steve Bannon. And when you have Roger Stone, who, as Robbie was saying, is a very concrete connection with WikiLeaks and with the emails that were released from the Hillary Clinton campaign, and the question as to whether Donald Trump knew about that or not, the information that Nunberg has can absolutely be very relevant to this. And we can also probably suspect that Mueller has a lot of those emails to begin with. So he is going to know whether Sam is telling him the truth or not, but he's also going to be able to point him in some other different directions of this investigation.
Jim, can you reconcile how Nunberg can say on the same day that no one hates President Trump more than he does, that President Trump didn't do anything wrong, that President Trump may have done something wrong? He does seem to be all over the place.
Yeah, I can't reconcile anything he said. What he did here today was impugn his own credibility for sure and raised real concerns about his own well-being among folks watching him on television today. So I can't put it together in any way, shape, or form that makes any sense.
Robbie, you think the linchpin of this might be Nunberg's loyalty to Roger Stone and potential exposure he may face in connection with WikiLeaks, which is obviously something the Clinton campaign took huge issue with.
Well, yeah, there are two avenues to this investigation. One is financial, right? What were Trump's financial ties to Russia? We've been hearing a lot about his property in Panama City, for example, today. It's notorious for money laundering. But separate from all that, I actually think that's the more important of the two strains, and the one that is most likely, if this presidency is taken down, that is the one that is more likely to take it down, certainly where Jared Kushner, I think, is going to get in trouble. But the second is this question of, was the Trump campaign aware that Russia had stolen information? Were they in any way communicating with the Russians about what to do with it? And I think if anyone was playing that role, if anyone was in the middle of this, it absolutely was Roger Stone. He was the one, remember, who said Podesta's going to be over the barrel next. That was briefly before Podesta's emails were released to the media by WikiLeaks on the same day that that Access Hollywood video came out. I mean, the timing on all of this is incredible. You look at our Democratic convention, the DNC emails were released right before that. So I think this is incredibly important. I think they're trying to distract with the crazy behavior.